some things to think about.
Mm.
If you had your time again from starting as a coach,
Yeah.
and you were able to go back, and with the knowledge you have now, what would you do different in terms of where would you explore and have coaching or investigate that helps you to be more congruent,
Yeah.
more authentic, and love what you do more?
Yeah. I think if I went back, there's one area that I think, when I talk to coaches, it's quite a common area. So there are at least a couple of people that I've had coach me. I wasn't very good at selecting them. I didn't select them for the right reasons.
What reasons did you select them for?
I chose them really because they were seen as the guru at that time in their area. There was a kind of sense of, if you're going to be coached by anybody, it should be this person because they're either, their rate's high. Therefore, if you want to be a high rating coach, you go to a high rate.
Yeah.
Or because they were just, they were out there.
When you say out there, you mean?
They were known. There were people that were known, they'd written books. There was a sense in which actually, in some world circles, they were seen as pioneering, And actually my experience of being coached by a couple of people was not great. I've sacked a coach before who was coaching me. And so it was almost like that, it was this thing again of congruence and authenticity, not being experienced by me as a customer.
Okay. Yeah.
So in a way, although I wouldn't do that again, I did learn something from that. I did learn something around, it made me question, well actually how do I show up?
Yeah, absolutely, because it maps across nicely to your business customers.
Absolutely.
Business customers are going to have those same experiences and go, is there congruency?
Exactly.
Is this person showing up the way I expect them to?
Yeah.
Because it's not what people say they do, is it? It's what they do.
No, exactly that. Exactly. There's a kind of, I remember somebody in my family used to say, well, it may say Bovril and Oxo on buses, but it doesn't mean they sell it. It just means it's there, It's there as an advert. And there's something about looking at that, and I do that myself, from time to time, and I ask my clients from time to time, are you getting what you expected to get? Even if I've been coaching them on and off for years, I'll still ask them, are you getting what you expected to get? Is there any difference between what you expected and what you've got? I'm looking for that. I'm looking for, am I showing up in the way that I presented myself? And is my client getting what they expected?
Yeah.
That'd definitely be one area. I think the other area for me, if I go back and think about this issue of congruence, the issue about maybe personal branding and all that kind of how do I show up stuff, would be really around working, on my business, being clear about working on my business. And I know when I set up my practice, when I went, out on my own 13 years ago now, I know that I spent too much time thinking about the colours of the logo.
The logo, yes.
Yeah.
The business card and the letter, yes.
And at that time...
Which, by the way, isn't just a common problem for coaches.
Oh, it's a common problem in business.
Businesses.
Yeah. Over-investment in look, rather than getting on with it. And I can remember picking up, I spent a small fortune on this business headed paper and stuff. And I can remember picking it up and thinking, why have I just spent all that money on headed paper? I'm not writing to anybody. I do everything by email.
Yes,
ridiculous things. And it was it was a should. To be a real business, you should have these things in place. So all I ended up with was very expensive, lovely looking headed paper that got used in the printer as, trash spare paper.
Have you got one of my business cards?
You don't have one, do you?
Correct. Yeah.
Mm.
And do you know why?
So tell us.
In your wallet, there's a black American Express card. Okay? Have you got one of those?
No.
It's by invitation only. It's the sort of thing that when you take it out of the wallet, a choir of angels sings and a light shines down upon
That's
it.
probably why I haven't got one.
Okay. And I want my business,
Yeah.
my brand, to be seen as that, not just black, but titanium.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's exclusive.
Titanium crab.
Titanium crap, yes, thank you. No, but steer away from logos and strap lines. Okay. We used to have a strap line when I used to own my demolition business. Was we clear the way for a brighter future.
I remember that. I like that.
And there was one particular contract where, for some reason, we hadn't tidied up all the pathways, and we had a letter from someone who said, "If you don't clear the way, you won't have a future."
Yeah.
So you have to be, make sure that what you say you're going to do, you actually do.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't have those cards because I want the work to be done by coming by referral,
Yeah.
by showing
Which
up
it
with
does.
congruency and people then talking about you, and over delivering.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have got business cards. I've got these tiny little business cards that kind of fit inside you anywhere. But if I'm honest, do I use them very much? I don't.
No.
I don't. Because people find you, don't they? They find you because they find you
Yeah.
through somebody you've coached, through somebody else who's referred you in. It is a referral business, isn't it?
Very much so. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. So are those the two things that if you
They're my
were to
two
go
key
back-
things. Yeah, they're my two key things. It's kind of, the paraphernalia around cards, etc. Yeah, you want them at some level. You obviously don't. But there's something about not focusing on that stuff, but focusing on getting out there and coaching people.
Yeah.
Getting out there and helping people, and let your authenticity speak through your work, not through a business card or a nice looking bit of paper that you're never going to use, apart from the scrap in your computer.
Yeah, yeah. And authenticity for you, has it changed over the years you've been
A
coaching?
lot. I think for me it's changed a lot, and I think it changes, frankly, the more work I do on myself. I find that I get much clearer about that when I'm looking at increasing my own self-awareness. And I think when we do that, I think it helps when we're coaching in business. If we're helping leaders to become more self-aware, that reflects in their business. It can't not. It's got to reflect in their business.
Yeah, it leads to some other interesting conversations, doesn't
It does.
About, I think, who are we?
Yeah.
Yeah, why are we here?
Yeah.
And what is our real purpose? Those can be really rich.
Very rich conversations. I think also the conversations around, so if that's who we are, that's the nature of our business, that's how we show up. Not just what do we need to do and what do we need to have in the business, but what do we need to get rid of as well? What do we need to shed?
Yeah, yeah. There is a lot of work that has to be done for some people in terms of letting go of past forms in order to allow a new form to take shape.
Yeah. And I think sometimes, particularly if people are transitioning into coaching from something they used to do, and I was coaching before I did this, but I also trained as a mediator, and I used to get asked a lot to do mediation, long past the point when I wanted to do it. And to be honest, when I look back now, I would do it because I would feel a loyalty to the organisation who wanted me to do it, and they'd asked me. And I'd keep doing it because I felt like actually I'm good at it. And therefore, this organisation need help.
Did you ever think, I'm good at it, and I like it, and I'll keep my hand in just in case the coaching
I did used to
works?
think
Did you?
that.
Right.
I did, even after I had a coaching practice for 4 or 5 years, I had it was one of my just in case pockets.
Okay.
That one day I
Interesting.
remember just thinking, why am I doing this?
Yes.
I do not need
Yeah.
to do this. I can do it, I kind of enjoy it, but I don't enjoy it enough to keep doing it. And a lot of my work is do what you love. Don't spend your life living somebody else's. So if I'm going to be authentic,
You've got to let
I've
go.
got to do it.
Yeah, totally.
I've got to do that.
Yeah, I love that conversation. Yeah, sometimes we have to let go of a past form in order to let the new form take shape.
Yeah. And you really did that, didn't you? If you think about your development into being a coach.
I've done it time after time after time. I was with some friends the other year watching a rugby match, and I was standing there and looking around and thinking, my goodness, my friends have all put on weight, look a lot older. I haven't seen them for quite a few years. And they were still doing their same jobs, but they were desperately unhappy.
Right.
Every single one of them was desperately unhappy. They were all in their mid-50s and they'd all been going, if not already gone through the menopause, moments of crisis in their lives. And they turned to me and said, so what are you doing now? Because I've always reinvented myself.
Yes.
I've been in the business of business and had a whole range of different enterprises. Some successful, some learning experiences. The learning experiences are the ones that don't really work out and cost us money.
Yeah.
And I just love the whole joy of a business. And I got into coaching because it did transform one of my businesses. I read a book and it made no difference whatsoever. And then I picked the book up again and this time did the exercises in the book.
Did the work.
I did the work. And for me, that was one of those moments. If I could go back and give myself some advice when I was younger, it would be not just to have this intellectual knowledge about things, but to actually get the experience. To dive into it, try things out. And that insight that I had with that book helped me to totally transform my business, which meant I was privileged enough to go, I'm out of this particular business now, and got me into coaching. So reinventing myself has never been an issue.
So that learning how to reinvent must have also helped you with your coaching practice, because I know that's evolved and changed a lot.
I see when people are stuck in a form and they are stuck in an unhappy form. And my job isn't to go, come to the edge and then give them a kick. Who am I to tell them how to live their lives? It's not about
it's not our job.
Sometimes it's say, come to the edge, and they say, no, I'm scared. They say, come to the edge. No, I'm scared. Come to the edge, and they realise there is no edge.
There isn't one.
Most of it is just an illusion. It's the fear of letting go of a past form in order to create a new type of, whether it's a new product line, or to move into a new business position, or to let go of a career and to go into something completely different. The things that stop people back, I think, are the hooks from the past, the learning experiences, or the resistance sometimes in the future. And I think of that sometimes as a tester. It's like, are you really up for this? Let's see if you're really up for this. Are you willing to be persistent until you get where you want to go? And I love those sorts of conversations.
I do. Because they're those conversations, aren't they, that lead you into helping people to see that they're hanging on to something for a reason that isn't necessarily in their best interests, or the interests of their company or their people, and it's not often mythology.
It's just an illusion, it's just beliefs. Ideas that people have. We come back to what we talked about earlier about congruency. For me, one of the definitions of congruency is when our conscious desires are lined up with our unconscious beliefs and desires. It's like the captain of the ship says we're going this way, and the rest of the ship goes, we're on board as well. And then it becomes a smooth journey. So if I was to go back and look at one of the areas where, if I could tell younger me, it would probably be something I was already doing, which is never be afraid of letting go of something, to allow something else to come in.
So if you're thinking about your coaching journey of developing your coaching business,
it wasn't that
and
smooth.
training. No, I know it wasn't that smooth, and I'm going like that. I don't know like that. But if you think about that journey, what other advice would you give your younger self? What other advice would you give somebody coming into this profession?
Well, there's a couple of pieces of advice that I was doing. So rather than giving a younger me the advice, the same advice I give coaches, which is to never stop learning. To keep developing. And also, I was about to say I was fortunate, but I actually created the fortune that I'd done quite a few trainings and read loads of books on self-development, and was starting to apply it to self. I wasn't getting the results that I hoped to, and then had that breakthrough moment with the book when I realised that a lot of it I was reading, I wasn't actually doing. And after that I got the opportunity, which I guess I created, of working with Dr. Richard Bandler and Paul McKenna. And the reason I got that opportunity wasn't because I was asking, it was because of the way I was showing up
Yeah.
on the trainings. When I say showing up, I wasn't creating drama.
But showing off.
I wasn't even showing off, it was just, I was doing my stuff because I've been practicing and practicing and practicing. And it got picked up and pointed out, so I was invited to be a part of the team.
Mm.
And I remember one of my friends saying, why are you spending so many months of your year working for free for those guys? You know, because I was going up onto the trainings, there were 7-day trainings, 10-day
It's a
trainings,
big commitment.
4-day trainings. I was turning up at the theatres where Paul McKenna was doing his hypnosis shows so I could help in the wings and all sorts of things. And literally it was about 3, nearly 4 months combined time given up for free because the assistant team never got paid.
Mm-hmm.
But it was an investment in self. It was practicing the craft.
Mm.
And if there was a piece of advice, it would be to get out there to coach, to take every single opportunity you can to coach. Practice your skills, never stop practicing, practice, practice, practice. That's one of the reasons why I set up a practice group in London, which I don't run anymore because I've got other commitments. But I could see people coming along for trainings and then needing an opportunity to show up with like-minded people and to explore things and to try new things. So, that would be one thing, would be just to, not be afraid of reinventing yourself, continue to practice. I think there'd also be something else as well, which is to really value the difference we make as coaches.
Yeah.
I got it so early on, really got it so early on, and it was a really simple intervention with a tennis ball.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea what I was doing at the time. A woman who was a friend of a friend, I'd run out of friends to play with and to experiment with. They were all now sorted, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And this friend of a friend came to my house and she turned up and the car had to drive up to the door and she had to run in.
Right.
Because she was agoraphobic now. And wasn't really sure what to do with her. Never really worked with an agoraphobic before that. She was the first agoraphobic. I remember Richard Bandler telling me a technique that he'd used to get right hemisphere brain working left hemisphere, which is with a tennis ball. So I got her to throw a tennis ball and do some breathing exercises, just got her to relax a little bit and changed the tone of my voice and she started to relax, and then I said stand up and she stood up and said follow me, and we walked out.
Yeah.
And walked down my garden, up and down the garden. She was going, oh my goodness, I've not been outside for years. And that afternoon, and I was kind of thinking that was so simple, that was ridiculous.
Almost too easy.
That was ridiculous,
Yeah.
And that afternoon I got a phone call from her saying, thank you so much. And she'd been out with her children for the first time ever for a day out.
Wow.
And I tell you, that was priceless, That changed that person's life.
When you say it's priceless, but actually it's true. You can't put a price on that.
Can't put a price on that.
You can't
And
put
also,
a price on that.
And it's the same when I do trainings. I look at people, and there's the story of the old lady walking down the beach. The man walking down the beach, and he sees the old lady walking down the beach, and there's been a storm, and all the starfish are washed up on the shore, and she's bending down picking up the starfish.
Thrilling.
The guy says, what are you doing? She said, well, I'm saving the starfish. And he said, well, you're never going to make a difference. Look at all these. And she bent down, picking up one.
Made a difference to that one.
To that one. And I'm not in the business of rescuing people. I said that before.
No, me neither.
But when doing trainings, doing workshops, when you change someone's life, you have no idea of the knock-on positive consequences of that. And to me, that's invaluable.
It's precious, isn't it?
And value it. And I think it's so important to value it because I have seen and coached a number of coaches, they've been on trainings, NLP trainings or coaching trainings or hypnosis trainings. People with great potential, but they don't value themselves.
No. I've seen that.
They may have fears around money. They may have fears around charging for money. They may have never really explored their real value, and they end up going back to the day job. Job stands for just over broke.
Yeah.
Whereas every coach, we make a difference.
We do.
And when there's a difference, the bigger the difference is, the more difference we make, the more value there is. And I think it's tragic that there are some great coaches out there who don't value themselves.
They don't value themselves enough to practice, or they don't value themselves enough to set up a going concern as a practice line.
Well, I think there can be, they will value themselves up to a point.
Mm.
And I've seen it so many times. What they do is they go back to train on themselves. They keep working on themselves, but not really getting out there and making a difference.
Not applying the learning.
Not applying it, not executing it. It's the output that makes the difference.
Yeah.
It's not what people know. Great that they keep going back to training courses and keep working on themselves, but it's converting that and transforming that idea of having a coaching practice into a reality.
Into having one.
Into a reality.
Yeah.
And it's like any business, it's really quite simple, isn't it? You find something, a product or service, where there's a desperate need,
Someone wants to buy it.
and you find a way to communicate that to as many people as possible. Business is really simple.
It is simple at that level. Yeah.
And make sure that, especially as a coach, when miracles happen in your vicinity, you will know it's because of you.
Yeah. It's true. It's true. I think also there's something in the mentoring piece about that too. I was training some mentors recently around the process of mentoring and how to mentor people. And one of the things that we do is look at, why would you do this? Why in an organisation would you spend your time wanting to mentor people? And it's always the same thing. It's always about I actually really like, it's a feeling. I like that feeling of seeing people grow. I like that feeling of passing on something to someone in a way that means that they don't have to struggle with things that I've struggled with. That actually I've got wisdom inside me. That if I pass it on, their experience, whether it's life experience or their work experience or whatever it happens to be, will be easier. And I think we undervalue that. I think we underestimate in coaching and mentoring the sheer value of almost being able to say sometimes, I had that person do that. Or, we did that
sometimes
together.
It's false humility. Sometimes it's good to be vain enough to go, I did that work. That's okay.
Absolutely.
Without the work, that person may not have changed.
Exactly.
It may not have happened.
And they may not have got what they wanted.
Yeah. Okay. Some things to think about.
Really, some things to think about. Some things to think about.